car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
And welcome to Low Overhead Country, as Ivan likes to refer to his business. We're talking about Frontier Motors here on News Talk 1370 WCOA. This is Talk at 10. I'm Don Parker, your button pusher and phone answerer. I certainly will not try to speak for Mr. Streckel, but if I continue to talk, eventually he's going to have to say something here as we continue with this edition of Talk at 10. You want to talk to him? 478-3116. He'll answer your questions. Good morning, Ivan.
Hey, Don, you don't have to call me Mr. anymore. It's been 21 years since we've been doing the show. I think you can call me by my first name by now.
Plus, you're younger than I am.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
good
right.
point.
I should be calling you Mr.
Yep, exactly.
Mr. 70-year-old Parker, Mr. 70-year-old Parker. Yeah. This is the Frontier Motor Show, and you're listening to 1370 AM Talk Radio. We're also videotaping this for our Blab TV customers, whether it's cable or satellite. So welcome, and this is a half-hour show. We're going to be talking cars, and more cars, and you might not be interested in a car right now, but you never know when that changes. And I talk to customers all day long that say, Ivan, I didn't think I was going to be in the market, and now I'm in the market. And usually that is not because you want to be in the market, because something happens. Maybe your car is expiring. The average age of a vehicle on the road right now is 11.2 years, and if your car is getting tired, let's say it's got 160,000 miles on it, sooner or later, you're going to be thinking about, I got to replace that car. And then that's where this show comes in, because we are the place to go to for advice. And a lot of things, people come in and ask me all the time. It's not always about price. That's one of the things that we do on the show. Of course, we advertise that we give you prices. And by the way, like Don said in the introduction, 478-3116, 478-3116, we can help you get a price right now. And I know I'm getting off track a little bit, but I do want to touch on price while I'm talking. NADA guides, folks. This is the guidebook you cannot get on the internet. They do have a version of this on the internet, but the ones we use are the ones that our bankers and our credit unions and a lot of our insurance companies in our area use. So this book is very important, not so much to give you a value, but to let you know how much a banker will tell you they will borrow you on a particular car. And again, there's a difference between the NADA book value and reality. Reality is what I come up with at Frontier Motors is by telling you what I feel the real value of your car would be. And there's a couple different ways that I do this. One of them is I do use the NADA book to find out what the banker's going to say. The second thing is I use the Black Wholesale Guidebook. This is what's supposed to be happening at the auction. But better yet, I can get right into the auction reports and pull up exactly what's happening through the Mannheim auctions. And the reason I use Mannheim is because they're the largest auctions in the world, owned by Cox Communications. We happen to have one right here on W Street. By the way, the W Street auction is on Tuesdays, and they usually run between 400 and 600 cars right here in Pensacola. And if that sounds like a lot of cars, on Tuesday also, I have a buyer that drives to Orlando. And in Orlando, they have between 4,000 and 6,000 cars on a Tuesday.
Wow.
So we buy a lot of cars out of Orlando. And one reason is because a lot of the manufacturers take their cars to Orlando. For example, like Lexus and Jaguar and Subaru and Ford and General Motors, they'll have that sale there. And that's why there's so many cars. People always say, well, where do those cars come from? A lot of them are from dealerships that take cars in trade that they don't want anymore. For example, if a Lexus takes a F-350 diesel on trade-in, they normally are going to take that diesel and turn it into cash and buy a Lexus. So they'll take the diesel to the Orlando auction and they'll drive home with a Lexus or something that might sell on their lot. So there are dealers that take cars down there, but a lot of them are rental companies that are swapping cars quite often. Some of them are, a lot of them are leases now because especially the more expensive cars, most of the expensive cars are going out on leases. And Don, last week we did a show and I talked to you. I drove my bicycle over to Car City on Sunday. And of course, I do it on Sunday because number one, I'm off, and number two, I'm not going to get bugged by a salesman. So
nobody there, right?
I can go from dealer to dealer. And I swear I looked at just about every car in Car City.
Yeah.
And some of them I took pictures of because I was astounded. One of them was the Cadillac at Vince Wibb's lot. They have a turnstile that doesn't turn, but it's like a platform location where they put their centerpiece. Mm-hmm. And their centerpiece happened to be an ESV Escalade, which is the suburban Escalade. It's the long one. Mm-hmm. This is a Platinum, which is their top of the line. I took a copy of the window sticker down. It was $100,215.
Wow.
Did you hear what I said? I said $100,000
On the sticker.
And Don, what I did is I did some calculations that
Yeah.
if you got a $6,000 discount and then you added $7,000 back in taxes, if you put down $28,000 in cash, your payments would be $1,351 a month.
Wow. For how many months? 60?
I plug in 60.
Yeah.
Be around $1,100 for 72 months. So, folks, what I'm getting at is that how do people buy cars like this? Obviously, you got to make a lot of money. But number two is they lease them. So what happens now, and it's very interesting that when I was in the new car business 21 years ago, our average lease term was about 60 months. The new average lease term is between 24 and 36 months. So right now we've got 2014 and 15 models coming off leases, and a lot of these, like the RX 350 Lexus I bought yesterday, a 15 model RX 350 with 10,000 miles on it. I have a customer for it, and it was kind of a locate, and he asked me, well, Ivan, he said, why would it only have 10,000 miles on it? Well, it's from Orlando, and I'll tell you, a lot of people in the Orlando area and in the Miami area and all those towns and cities down there, they're part-time residents. So what they do is they keep a car in the garage, and they have a home up north, and they have a car there, so they fly back and forth, and therefore their car only gets used half the time, and therefore I get a lot of low-mileage vehicles from the auction in Orlando. Now, when I talk about low mileage, I bought a Nissan cargo van. I bought 4 Nissan cargo vans, 2 of them the week before, 2 of them yesterday. The highest mileage one was 100 miles. The lowest mileage one was 42 miles. So when I go to the auctions, I sometimes can buy brand new cars at the auction because there are either rental companies or dealers that aren't turning their inventory, so they take them to the auctions. And now those auctions are open to independent dealers like Frontier Motors. And of course, I'm getting off track again, as I always do. But we talked about a little bit that if you do want to call on the show, it's 478-3116, 478-3116, and I can help you about on any car buying topic. And one of the things that we talk about was what's going on in the car industry, not so much just at Frontier Motors. By the way, this is the Frontier Motor Show. We are an independent car lot on Beverly Parkway. We've been in business for 21 years. But I don't always talk about just Frontier Motors and what we do differently than other dealerships. And I counted again, Don, there must have been a lot of dealers gone out of business because about 6 months ago I counted and there was 126 dealers in Pensacola.
I remember you telling
We're down
us
to 108.
Holy
This last report came down, we're down to 108 dealers. And that's with 3 new ones. Because CarMax moved to town. Well, not 2 new ones because CarMax and Audi moved to town.
Right.
But Honda built a new building, so they didn't really move. They just moved across the street, so they've always been here. But it's really interesting that we have 2 major players, new players in Pensacola, and still we almost lost 20-some dealers in the last 6 months. But the Automotive News Highlight Magazine is an article that kind of caught me off guard. I got this morning, Don, before I came to the show. It says, Great Wall wants to own Jeep. Now, you might say, well, what's Great Wall? Well, the Chinese automaker Great Wall Motor Company told Automotive News and it's interested in buying the Jeep brand and has reached out to Fiat Chrysler Automobiles to see whether they can negotiate a deal. Now, for those of you who don't know that, Fiat owns Jeep and Chrysler and Dodge, and Ram.
Yeah.
The move would slice Jeep from the rest of Chrysler's brands, leaving question marks over the future of Fiat, Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram. Fiat already said it would consider splitting Alfa Romeo and Maserati, which is also owned by Fiat, into their own company. Great Wall President Wang Fujing listed by Fortune as the 7th most powerful woman in Asia. That's interesting. I didn't know women made it to the top of the food chain over there.
Me either.
Wrote in an email to Automotive News that Great Wall intends to buy Jeep and is connecting with Chrysler Fiat to begin negotiations. So that's very, very interesting. Now, we have a local dealer, and we should get them for comment. I should find out. We've got Hill Kelly, of course, is our local dealer. They got Hill Kelly, and they got the Dodge, the Ram, and the Fiat. No, not Fiat, but they have the Jeep brands over there. And I think it would crush them if they lost Jeep.
Oh, sure.
Jeep is a phenomenal brand. Now, the Wrangler, you can't hardly keep them in stock. I did go over there on Sunday, and I did notice, I counted, they had 14 Wranglers. But half of these Wranglers were all bright blue. Or the baby blue color. I don't understand that, but that's a whole different subject. So what I was getting at, folks, is that I'm getting these cars off a lease. We're bringing them to Frontier Motors. Some of the vehicles are going to have very low miles on. 2017 Camaro, for example, with 600 miles on. 2017 Ram pickup truck with 700 miles on. I've got a Hyundai Elantra, 17 Elantra with 900 miles on it. We have an Audi Q3, which is their small SUV with 1,000 miles on it. Mazda Miata hardtop new body style convertible, a 17 Mazda convertible that we have on consignment from a customer. It's got 1,000 miles on it. And folks, talking about consignments, that used to be a word of the past because very few dealers do consignments anymore. And consignments got a really bad rap years ago. And there are still a couple of dealers in Pensacola that do consignments, but they charge a monthly fee. And my suggestion is if you go to a dealer to put your car on consignment, ask them what they charge. Because if they charge a fee to do this, I would walk away. Because if they charge a monthly fee, there's a dealer in town that charges $250 a month to do consignments. Well, he makes money if he doesn't sell your car.
Good point.
Right? So at Frontier Motors, what we do is we establish a price for your car that you and I can live with, as long as I can still make a small profit on it. It doesn't have to be a large profit, a small profit on it. And that, number one, to me, as the owner of the dealership, to make sure that my prospective customer is getting a good deal that's very competitive with the rest of the world. Well, this Miata is, for example, because when I went to the Miata store, they have a dealer markup on these Miatas. It's a new body style. It's a very hot car. So they put on anywhere from a $2,000 to a $3,000 dealer markup above the window sticker. This car with 1,000 miles on it can be bought well below that to give you a gap between new and used. Consumers Reports, I bring this article up out all the time, last April actually put in writing what I've been talking about for 21 years, that the average new car in 1 year loses 27% of its value. Folks, 27% of its value. The average new car last year was $35,000. If you multiply 35,000 times 27%, you're going to come up with a depreciation in the first year of $9,200. So Don, if you bought a brand new, you're driving a Mitsubishi Outlander, right?
I am indeed, a 2011 with 125,000.
You've been around the block and then some.
Yes.
You're here all the time. Where does the miles come from? Where the heck you been?
Well, I drove it back and forth to Montana. That helped.
So Don, if you take and decide to trade a brand new one in, which hopefully you bought a couple cars from us, didn't you?
8.
8 cars. Don Parker has bought 8 cars and trucks from Frontier Motors.
Yeah.
And
most of them were SUVs like this one is, but I have one pickup, an old Cadillac.
Explorer.
Goes
on and on. The list goes on.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at, Don, if you decide for whatever reason that you're going to buy a brand new Outlander and you go to the Mitsubishi dealer, Consumers Report says the first year, if you decide, I want something bigger, smaller, I don't need it anymore, I'm doing the Dave Ramsey thing and I'm downsizing, I'm going to walk to work, I got a bicycle, whatever the reason is you want to get rid of that car, Consumers Report says, not Frontier Motors, Consumers Report says that your appraisal is going to be $9,200 less than what you paid for the car. Not off the window sticker. The $35,000 that the average new car cost last year was not the list price. That was the actual transaction price. So let's say there was a $3,000 rebate and a $2,000 discount. So the average price of the window sticker was $40,000. The average transaction price was $35,000. And in 1 year, you lose $9,200. Now, if I'm buying that car at the auction, $9,200 less than a new one, what I always use as an analogy is, let's say I marked the vehicle up $3,000. You save $6,200. I'm making money, and you're still saving $6,200. If I mark it up $2,000, you're saving $7,200 over the new one. Don't forget, when you're buying the car $7,200 less, you're also saving 7% tax on that $7,200. So that comes out to another $500 or $600. So now let's just round it off to $8,000. If I pay $1,000 more for the trade-in, then you'll get a gift from the new car dealer because we take everything in trade. Where a lot of new car dealerships are kind of a little prejudiced on what they really want on their used car lot. So therefore, a lot of times we're going to do better for you on the trade-in. So let's say that's another $1,000. So now we're talking about some money here. We're talking about maybe a $9,000 savings. Let's say $8,000 to $9,000 on some cars, not every car.
Right.
Again, they said that the average, Don. I had a customer that come in last year when I started talking about this when the article came out, and he came to the dealership and he says, "Okay, I want to save $9,200." I says, well, number one, you can't because then I wouldn't be making any money.
Right.
So the depreciation is from what you paid to the new wholesale value of what you're going to get. So if the dealer is able to buy that car at the auction or take it in trade $99 less, they have to make a profit on it. We put a new fence up, a cosmetic fence, and we started back then, and we decided to keep our overhead down so we could charge a smaller profit to stay in business. The lower your overhead, when I sharpen my pencil, the more I'm going to be able to save you. And this, some of these mausoleums, there's a place in Manhattan that sold a couple of years ago. I believe the selling price was like $50 million. $50 million for a car dealership. What do they have to charge to stay in business?
Right.
Even if you paid cash for it.
Right.
Even if you had $50 million and you paid cash for it, just think of the overhead, the taxes, the insurance, the maintenance, the personnel, all those things that drive the price up. The other thing that sets us apart a little bit from the competition is how we do business. What I mean by that is when you come to Frontier Motors, the first thing we do in the morning is our salespeople unlock every single car. And the reason we do that is so that you can slip behind the wheel without a salesman having to run back and forth and get a key. And the reason dealerships keep their cars locked is so they make you feel obligated when the salesman's working really hard. And if it's going to be 90 degrees today, after about the fifth car you want to look at, he's going to have to change his shirt, or she, because it's so hot out and they're so sweaty out. But you know what? There's a little obligation from you because you're working that salesman so hard to buy a car from them. Well, we don't do that at Frontier Motors. We want you to buy a car when you want to buy a car, not when we want to sell one. We want to sell one when we go to work. That's what we do. We sell cars. But what I always talk about in this radio and / TV show is that our customers, when they come in, they don't get sold a car. They get to pick one out. And there's a difference there. The reason they get to do it like that is because we're an independent dealer that doesn't have a franchise. Now, if you go to a Fiat dealership, what are they going to try to sell you? Hello, a Fiat. If you go to a Chrysler dealership, they're going to sell you Chryslers. And if you go to a Honda dealership, they're going to tell you why that Honda is the best car in the world. But then you go across the street to the Toyota dealership. Actually, they're on the same side of the road now. You don't have to go across the street anymore. They're going to tell you why the Toyota is such a better product. They're all going to try to sell you why their vehicle is better than the next one down the road. Well, at Frontier Motors, we have them all. We have them all lined up. We have the Toyota. We have the Honda. If you want to look at the Chevy or the Ford or the Chrysler or the Jeep, we have them all lined up, unlocked. Carfax is in the glove box of every car. And the next question is, how much is it? So we can give you a printout that looks like this, that has every car on it, the miles, the make, the year, the equipment, the book value, and our sale price on the internet. So there's no questions left. The question you might have is that the best you can do or can you do a little bit better? A lot of dealerships, including CarMax, have gone to one price selling. So when they put their price on the window sticker, that's what the price is. And I use this as an analogy. If you've got a car picked out at Frontier Motors of $12,500, for example, and the dealer you're going to has one price selling at $12,500, but you're pre-approved at your credit union for $11,000, and you have no more money. The dealer that doesn't negotiate or can't negotiate based on their philosophy is out of sale, unless they have a car they can sell you cheaper, which normally would mean an older car or more miles or less equipment or worse condition. That's how they drop the price. At Frontier Motors, I've got the ability that I can drop my price if I have to, if I can. Some cars that we have on the internet, because you have to be competitive with the internet these days, folks. It wasn't like years ago where you're going to walk into a car dealership and get a $3,000 discount on a car. One reason is because you can't advertise that. To be competitive, we have to advertise our cars at a competitive price. So I'd look at the cars that I'm competing against when I price our cars. But that doesn't mean that I can't be flexible. I would rather make a little bit of money than no money at all. So if, for example, that I just used, we have a car that's $12,500. Let's say hypothetically I paid $10,000 for that car. I've got it marked with the competition. Everybody's at $12,500. And that's a fair price. and I'm making money. But you say, I just can't do that. So now I have the decision to make. Do I sell it for 11 as an example and make $1,000, or do I pass on the deal? And the way that we look at that is the car replaceable. When we make our decision on whether we can sell a car for less, is the car replaceable? In other words, can I just go out and get another one? Or is it a one-of-a-kind car? For example, I've got a customer right now looking for a Toyota Matrix, 2010 Toyota Matrix with maybe 50,000 miles on it. Well, to buy that car is very difficult because they don't make them anymore. They didn't make them to begin with, but that's what he wants. So in that particular case, that car is not replaceable. But some cars are replaceable, so we can take less profit. But the nice thing about Frontier Motors, we have the ability to make that decision, and we can make it right then and there. This isn't a 3-day program. So I can look at my cost sheet, and I can say, okay, I paid $10,000 for that car. The least I'll take is $11,200, as an example. And we're asking $12,000, which is retail. So I can drop my price. Some of the new places can't do that. The other thing we do is we give you that bottom line price in writing. We're very confident in our pricing. So if you look at a car, and let's just say it's the Chevy Camaro. I got a 17 Camaro on the lot with 600 miles on it. The original asking price is $33,800. We have it discounted. That's retail. We have it discounted on the internet for $32,950. So basically on the internet, we knocked off about $1,000 to make it a good deal. So at that point, I can say, okay, and you look at the car and you say, is that the best you can do? And I look at my costs. My cost is $30,300. I want to make $1,000 on this car. So I can go down to $31,345. Very simple. So people that hate negotiating, when they come to Frontier Motors, they don't have to negotiate. I'm the one that automatically will tell you this is what we can do, or my sales managers if I'm not there. We've got 5 sales managers that do the same thing. They listen to shows to make sure that what I'm talking about actually happens when you come on the lot. Yeah, we don't sit there for 3 hours and negotiate. I hate negotiating. I would rather tell you, here's the value of the car, and here's what I'll sell it for. Here's the taxes, the dock fee, the tag transfer. Here's your bottom line price out the door. If you're not sure if it's a good deal, let me put this in writing, give you a copy of it, and why don't you go shop? That's how you're supposed to do it. And if you run into a dealership that won't give you a bottom line price in writing, my suggestion is you walk out because they're obviously hiding something. And I mean a bottom line price, not their asking price. Dealers charge different fees. You'll be astounded sometimes what they charge. I better not. I was going to talk about a new car dealer that is running a sale this Saturday.
Right.
Cars as low as $5.98.
All right. That's pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say they actually have a couple available, which they have to, by the way,
By
for
law,
advertising
yeah.
purposes.
Mm-hmm.
You're out the door price. Now, you would think $5.98. I can calculate tax on that. It's 7.5%.
Mm-hmm.
Which, what is that, 50 cents? I don't know. I'm not calculating with me. So you got your 50 cents in taxes, and you're going to have to buy a license plate or transfer it, which is anywhere from $100 to $200 if you have a transfer. So that $5 car should cost you $205
Mm-hmm.
to take it home, right? It doesn't work that way, folks, because there's different fees that are charged. And I don't really get mad at any dealer for charging a high fee or low fee.
Okay.
Because if they're selling their cars less and they charge a fee, then it ends up averaging out. What I get mad about is when they don't tell you. I had this happen when I first moved to downtown, Don. I bought a pickup truck, a brand new one.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a vehicle. We were opening a dealership. I needed a truck.
Right.
I didn't even have our dealer's license yet, so I wasn't going to the auction.
Right.
So I went to a new car dealer. I knew the person that worked there for years because I used to work at multiple 4 years ago. And we negotiated a truck price. I says, I'll give you $300 over invoice. He says, done deal. No problem.
Mm-hmm.
I says, I'm going to pay cash. I'm not financing. So I'll be there tomorrow to pick it up. So I came tomorrow to pick it up.
Right.
And they charged me like a $400 fee on top of that fee. So I got ticked at him. I got mad. And, I didn't get mad about the fee. I got mad because he didn't tell me.
Mm-hmm.
If you said, oh, by the way, Ivan, there's this fee, this fee, this fee, so this comes to this much out the door,
Mm-hmm.
I'd have paid it. Not a problem.
Right.
What I get mad is when they don't tell you. And that's why
Which is common, though.
It is. It's very common that the dealer sell, I can sell you a car for $25,000. Okay, well, you can calculate. The tax, by the way, is 7%, plus if it's Escambia County, it's $75 on top of the 7%, and if it's Santa Rosa, it's $50 on top of the 7%. That's how you calculate the tax. Kind of weird how it works, but that's how it works. But you can figure your own taxes. You don't need them.
Right.
But you need to find out what their fees are. There's some dealers that charge a tire tax. They charge a battery tax. They charge an electronic filing fee. They charge a dock fee. They charge a get-ready fee. Some dealerships put an addendum on their cars, which I found out in Car City the other day, where they have a marketing adjustment of $1,200 on top of the window sticker of their car. And then they have a $700 charge for like a AAA thing that's on there. Some dealerships charge extra for rust proofing and gloss treatment and pinstriping, which it doesn't matter. None of that stuff really matters. As long as they disclose it, they put it in writing, and then you can go out and make a decision whether you're getting a good deal or a bad deal. That's what it's about. When you come to Frontier Motors, we're going to do that right off the bat. A lot of people, I can convince them to go ahead and just buy the car because I have a program called Price Driver that tells me what everybody else charges for that particular car. So I can run it through with them. And if my price isn't the least expensive one, there's usually a reason. Usually the reason would be because my car has less miles on it, has more equipment on it, and most importantly, is in better condition. And that's one thing that you don't see on the internet. When you Google a car price and you say, well, there's one over in Miami, it's $500 less or $1,000 less or $2,000 less. You can't see the condition of the car on the pictures. It could be nicks and scratches. The inside tires could be worn. The spare tire could be missing. Could have a crack in the windshield. And it could be a smoker's car. It maybe has 2 accidents. Maybe it's from up north and you're worried about rust. There's a lot of things that make up a car price. And when you call your banker and they tell you this is the book to use, this is not the book to use to find out what to pay for a car. This is the book to use to find out what a banker will borrow on a particular car. Bankers don't appraise cars, by the way. I have never seen a banker go on a test drive. Now, wouldn't it be important if the transmission was slipping on a particular car as far as the value? They won't. They'll book it out using this. And they'll say, that car's worth $23,000. They haven't even seen it. They don't even know the color, how many owners, how many accidents. All they know is the equipment because they're booking it out and the miles. They don't know nothing about appraising a car other than book values and how much they'll loan on a particular car. And that's what a banker should be saying. The banker should be saying, Mr. Customer, I'm not sure what they're charging for these cars, but I'll tell you what a book's out for. And then you come to Frontier Motors and we'll tell you what those cars are really going for. And sometimes I can save you thousands of dollars over what the NADA book says. Once in a while, like on a Jeep Wrangler, for example, because they're hot, they actually sell for more than what the book value is. And that's where we come in as free advice by telling you, here's what you should pay for a particular car. And because we have almost 400 cars in inventory, you'll be able to find if we have a car just like that and how much it is. If we don't have it, we can book it out for you and say, this is what I can get it for. We've only got a minute left, so I want to let you know that Frontier Motors got a great website. Just Google Frontier Motors. You don't need to know the address. And you're going to see 390 cars in inventory. They have prices, 31 detailed photographs. Check us out on Facebook and also on YouTube. This show is going to be on YouTube in a couple days, so pull us up and watch it. Thanks for listening, and thanks for watching. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay. Come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier. We got the right price. Frontier. We'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors. Low overhead.